Good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world from the beautiful city of St. George's in Grenada. I'm George Grant saying thanks for joining us for today's edition of Good Day Grenada. Yesterday morning we told you that we started the day kind of overcast. Well, today, not much different. A few breaks in the clouds out there, but it's another cloudy morning, and certainly the atmosphere is changing as we get settled into the 2019 hurricane season. Huh? Yes, my dear friends. So we got another great program lined up for you this morning, and we're glad that you have been able to get out of bed this morning. Probably fed your face already. Some of you are probably already settled into your chores at the office for this new day. Whatever. Let's be thankful. Let's be thankful. We're breathing. So, where are we? Let's take a look at the rundown, see what kind of stuff we got going on here this morning. And we're going to begin with actually an excerpt from a program we did yesterday afternoon with Mr. Ruggles Ferguson, attorney at law, where he spent a lot of time talking about the, hello there, yeah, talking about the Electronic Crimes Act. That's what he talked about yesterday. A very interesting piece. The program was obviously an hour long, but we pulled out just a little bit to share with you this morning. We also have the national report for you, and believe it or not, Ray's going to be with us. Yes, he's going to be with us, but he's not coming in this morning. He's going to do this from his home this morning. Quick glance here over. Hello there, Donna Joseph. I got to tell you about this lady. I think it must have been on Saturday afternoon. I was downtown and, just went to do some errands, walking around near the market. And this lady saw me and said, hello, Mr. Grant. And I thought, hello, how are you? And she said, I'm Donna Joseph. And I thought, oh my gosh, Donna Joseph. That's the person on Good Day Grenada. Yeah, she's a charming lady, and ma'am, I was delighted to have met you. Thank you very much for taking the time to say hello, okay? Real pleasure meeting you. Chester is saying good morning from Switzerland. Your Excellency, I hope you're doing okay. SD Notap is checking in all the way from the Azores, huh? Long way from Grenada, sir, on the other side of the world, but thank you very much for joining us. Donna says, a tired, sick, and fed up with flow for their service that isn't flowing smoothly but stagnant. Hey, wait a minute, Donna. I thought Flo just did some major upgrades. What are you talking about? Huh? Yeah. Yes, life goes on in Grenada. It's tough. But like I always say, this too shall pass. SD Notap says the stream is broken. Sharon Roberts says, not Flo, try Digi or the Gremlins. Chris Davies says, broken, bad today. Yeah, we started off this morning, and already I am seeing major interruptions here. Major. I haven't turned on the iPad yet, but on my desktop, big time. And yesterday afternoon, when we did the program with Ruggles, we had a pretty darn good stream. Pretty darn good stream. But hey, life goes on. Life goes on. Margaret Francis saying, interruptions really bad. Yeah, boy, for all of you to be talking about that this morning, it must really be bad. And Kipling saying, good morning and blessings to all. Folks, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't know what to tell you. Such is the life of those of us who use the internet in this country. Hey, there. Oh, I was just going to say it's back, but it's already gone again. And that's, I'm monitoring here the feed coming through Grenada Broadcast, which is the same feed on Facebook. It's back, it's back, it's back, it's back. Well, guess what? Kipling says, from bad to worse. Yes, sirree. And I'll tell you what, looking at my little who's-its here, which I use to send the stuff out, it's really bad. I mean, the stream has now gone down. Yes, sirree, the stream has gone down. So don't be surprised that you're not receiving, I don't know why I'm talking to you, because you're obviously not there anymore. Anyhow, we're going to do the program, but I think you guys know the drill. Once we're through doing it live, we're just going to put it up on Facebook and also on YouTube. Okay? Now, let's get down to brass tacks. On yesterday's edition of Law Made Simple, Attorney at Law Ruggles Ferguson revisited the Electronic Crimes Act, taking a look at various components of the Act and explaining in some detail unauthorized access and interference. That's one of the sections of the Act. The entire program, 1 hour long, is available on this website, GrenadaBroadcast.com, and can be found in the archives of Law Made Simple. You know, we archive all the programs we do, so you can go on back, take a look, especially on occasions such as this one. And this morning, however, I want to bring you just a 12-minute segment of that program. 12-minute segment. So here comes Mr. Ruggles Ferguson.
What are some of the offenses created under the Act, first and foremost? You have 1, identity theft. 2, you have electronic forgery. 3, electronic fraud. 4, violation of privacy, which in fact is one of the more popular sections, and actually it's the section that became the subject of recent charges by the police and convictions by the court, the violation of privacy. And probably is one that for the man in the street would have greater interest than some of the other sections. So 1, 2, 3, 4, violation of privacy. 5, you have misuse of encryption. 6, you have child pornography. 7, you have electronic terrorism. You have 7, prank calls to law enforcement. You know, making prank calls, fooling around, using the system, wasting the time of law enforcement. There are certain consequences, adverse consequences that flow from that. and you have unauthorized access to code. So these are some of the new categories of crime highlighted under the Electronic Crimes Act. The section 6 and 16 that I mentioned earlier on also created offenses, but those have been repealed and not yet replaced. And section 6 focuses on sending offensive messages through communication services. So one party sends an offensive message to another, then that was, prior to the repealing of that section, considered an offense under the Act. The problem with the section, as crafted, it was felt, myself included at the time, that it was much too overbroad and could lead to abuse on the part of individuals abusing that section and possibly criminalizing many persons. When I say criminalizing, meaning having persons arrested and charged for criminal offenses. And it was so overbroad that it was believed to be unconstitutional. So if, for example, under Section 6, you sent a message that caused annoyance, inconvenience, or it was felt that it was insulting in any way, then you can get charged. So that, in a sense, would waste time. Because annoyance, and in fact somebody has raised a question, what is considered an offensive message? What is considered an offensive message? And precisely, that has a subjective side to it, though when Section 6 was initially crafted, it referred to grossly offensive, or has a menacing character. So it was felt, and that comes under offensive at the time, that, causing annoyance to someone or inconvenience to someone or even insulting someone, you will really have the police active with these electronic crimes. They'll be every minute of the day. They can be open to those kinds of calls, and it's tended, the crafting of Section 6. In fact, I contended at the time, and there were some others involving constitutional law, more sensitive to human rights issues, that it was in breach of the freedom of expression section of our Constitution. So that was eventually repealed. But, things as broad as causing annoyance, people can be annoyed, but that does not make it a criminal offense necessarily. So, for example, in the criminal law world, you have certain words that may constitute a criminal offense. And if we look at them, you have obscene language. And for obscene language to carry, there are basically two sets of words that are obscene. If you use those words, they are considered obscene, and you can be charged for obscene language. And it's a summary offense. It's one of these basic summary offenses. And you can be, get a fine, as most times it might be the case of a fine. Really, you get imprisonment arising out of obscene language. But in this case, Section 6 carried a fine of $100,000. a fine not exceeding $100,000 or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 1 year or to both. And it was felt that for causing annoyance or inconvenience, such broad concepts, very subjective, then the legislators ought to revisit that section, which happily it was repealed in 2014, so it's no longer there. So let us look at some of the specific sections. So let me highlight to you some of the specific offenses arising. 1, Section 5, which deals with what it calls unauthorized access and interference. A person shall not knowingly or without lawful authority or without lawful excuse or justification or without permission of the owner or any other person who is in charge of an electronic system or network. So you can't interfere with another man's network. You ought not to. You ought not to access it, break into codes and access it network unless you are authorized, as we will see later, by a particular court order to do so. So you ought not to go into another man's network for the purpose of gaining access or to secure such electronic system or network, download, copy, or extract data, electronic database or information from such electronic system or network, including information or data held or stored in a removable storage medium, hard drives and other storage medium. C, you should not introduce or cause to be introduced a contaminant or malicious code into an electronic system or network. And let me pause here because some of these words have specific meanings defined under the very act. So for example, what is a contaminant? And the act describes a contaminant as a set of electronic instructions that are designed, A, to modify, destroy, record, transmit data or programming residing within an electronic system. So somehow you interfering with it, you stealing material, or you just snooping into somebody else's network. B, by any means to usurp the normal operation of an electronic system or electronic network. So all of these, and those are by way of electronic instructions. So by way of electronic instructions, you are, to put simply, interfering with another man's network in a way that would affect it for whatever purpose. And they have also described a malicious code, you see, introduce or cause to be introduced a contaminant or malicious code into an electronic system or network. And a malicious code means an electronic program or a hidden function in a program that infects data with or without attaching its copy to a file and is capable of spreading over an electronic system with or without human intervention, including virus, worm, or Trojan horse. Those are considered to be malicious codes. You ought not to damage or cause to be damaged an electronic system or network, data, electronic database, or other program residing in such electronic system or network. You ought not to disrupt or cause the disruption of an electronic system or network. You ought not to deny or cause the denial of access to a person authorized to obtain access to an electronic system or network by any means, locking off a man from his own system. You ought not to provide assistance to a person to facilitate access to an electronic system or network in contravention of the provisions of this Act.
Yeah, there we go. Now, Ruggles talking about the Electronic Crimes Act, eh? Heavy stuff. And boy, let me tell you, there's a lot more, because he also talked in depth about information that those of you who use the internet and social media and stuff like that should be aware of. So please, take some time later on today or whenever, it's going to be up there on the website, and go check it out. I feel kind of lonely here this morning because you guys are not there. You're not there. But like I said, this too shall pass. Ray is going to be joining us. And by the way, just let me say here, Margaret, I think, suggested, was it Margaret? No, Sharon Roberts suggested try Digi or the Gremlins. Sharon, I don't think this thing has anything to do with Digicel. Well, I could be wrong, but I just checked my speeds here, and I'm getting 21 megs up, and 78 megs down. That's, by Grenadian standards, high speeds, okay? Interesting thing, I think it was yesterday, I spoke with Mikey Hutchinson, who does Mikey Live, and he has not had any problems over the past couple of weeks. None whatsoever, all right? And I have got higher speeds than he does. Hey, okay. So the last comment I see here on Facebook was from Kipling saying, from bad to worse. Pilgrims, let's take a little break here and we'll come on back with the National.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company, tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive, motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary, public liability, professional indemnity, directors liability, and wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Boy, yo, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say, kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, it can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Public Service Commission removed as party in case against government for salary deduction during industrial action. Details to this story and more in the national report. With the details to the news for Monday, June 3rd, I am Leslie Ann Johnson. The matter involving the government of Grenada with respect to the salary deduction of a teacher made during industrial action last year came on for hearing on Monday before the High Court in Grenada. The case was brought by secondary school teacher Donna Marcel Lusan, with the defendants being the Cabinet of Ministers, the Minister for Finance, the Public Service Commission, PSC, and the Attorney General. The Public Service Commission was successful in its application to be removed as a party based on its constitutional duties. On the substantive issue of the salary deduction for days not worked due to strike action, Justice Godfrey Smith encouraged the parties to settle since the claim amounts to about $500. The issue remains whether government has a right to deduct salary for periods not worked during an industrial dispute. The employee or claimant in this case withheld labor and therefore government withheld wages for the same period. The outcome of the case will have significant implications for the wider public service and the constitutional law in Grenada. A date for the hearing of the matter has not yet been set.
The matter came on for hearing this morning before Justice Smith. Now, it is sub judice, so I'm not in a position to go into details with respect to the matter. But what I can indicate is that the Public Service Commission did advance an application this morning to be removed as a party, and it was successful on that application. The substantive issue in the claim continues, and that substantive issue relates to whether or not, if you do not work, if you must not be paid. And that matter will be determined by the court on a date to be set. No date has yet been scheduled for that hearing of the substantive issue.
That's Solicitor General Ms. Dia Forrester. A more competitive environment and consumer empowerment. The expected benefits from Monday's launch of the mobile number portability in Grenada and all ECTEL member states. They have now joined Trinidad and Tobago, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and others who have already launched the service. Mobile number portability, or MNP, enables consumers to keep their current mobile telephone numbers when switching from one mobile telephone operator to another. This service removes the inconvenience of phone users having to inform their contacts, family and friends of a new number after changing their mobile service provider. The MNP project began in 2015 with a decision by the ECTEL Council of Ministers to implement local number portability for both fixed and mobile phones. Ms. Kim Frederick, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, Public Utilities, Energy, Transport and Implementation, says more choices means more consumer empowerment.
With such developments in the region, it is important that Grenada remains competitive and service providers offer the most advanced telecommunication services at affordable prices to the citizens of Grenada.
Mobile number portability will be available to postpaid and prepaid mobile consumers of all service providers within the ECTEL region as long as the customer's number has not been barred, restricted, suspended, or headsets reported stolen or lost to the current provider. There will be no charges for number porting. All porting or switching charges will be met by the service provider. However, the current provider may charge for the new SIM card and unlocking the customer's handset before the number is ported. Dr. Spencer Thomas, Chairman of the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, the NTRC, says there should be no barrier to enjoying the services that are enjoyed globally.
We believe that the launch of number portability in Grenada and across the ECTEL states simultaneously embodies the spirit of the telecommunications treaty and the act that we have, the treaty that we have signed way back in 2000, and the protocol which have recently amended the treaty. So that number portability is in sync with that treaty, and also the regulations that we have, the legislation, the principal legislation, which was the Telecommunications Act, on the new communications legislation that will be on electronic communications. We see the dynamism in the market, and this number portability is just one of several issues that will be in concert with those legislation and movement forward.
Work on fixed number portability will commence later this year when a second fixed line service should become available in each ECTEL member state. This is the National Report. More news after the break.
The countdown is on to Grenada's most exciting music festival. Friday, 7th June is Sol EC Limited Rhythm and Soul Night with Kerry Hilson, the legendary Freddie Jackson, Eddie Bullen, and Jefferson Ramirez. Saturday, 8th June is Wester Hall Rum Reggae Fest featuring Busy Signal, Maxi Priest, Kimani Marley, Tamara St. Bernard, and more. The festival climaxes on Sunday, 9th June with a George F. Huggins Soca Fusion featuring the All-Stars with Tennyson John and Blacks, Patrice Roberts, Westways, Jab King, and more. Gates open 7 p.m., showtime 9 p.m. Advance tickets $80 Friday and Saturday, $60 on Sunday, and are available island-wide. Limited VIP and season tickets at Grenada Optical and GoToFet.com. Grenada Music Festival 2019. Get your tickets today. Sponsors: Silver Sands Grenada, Hennessy, the Antillian Group, Coca-Cola, St. George's University, Glen Elch Springwater, and Netherlands Insurance.
Continuing the news, a call for Grenadians to be responsible when sharing information during the Atlantic hurricane season, which began on Saturday. It comes from Senator Winston Garraway, Minister with responsibility for disaster management and information. Forecasters are predicting 13 named storms, with 5 expected to develop into hurricanes, 2 of which can be major. Senator Garraway warns that information should only be shared from those authorized to do so.
Within the region, there are 4 entities that is responsible for countries within our sphere. So the focal point for Grenada is Trinidad and Tobago. So information will be disseminated from the Hurricane Center and comes down to Trinidad. Trinidad will contextualize whatever information they get for the region, for that space, and it's not only Grenada. So Trinidad, Grenada, you have Guyana and the likes and so forth. So they contextualize the information for that geographic space, and they will then send it out. They send that to us. We now will have to run it through, and I'm saying we, meaning the Met services, would have to run it through their own models for our localized space. When the models have been done, they will then give us accurate information as it pertains to Grenada. So what you see from Trinidad, yes, it's for the entire region, but it's not contextualized to Grenada. Met Office is the one who will do that.
While information will be readily available on the internet, he says NADMA remains the official source of information.
From Trinidad, it goes to the Met contextualizes it, then sends it to NADMA and other media entities. NADMA now will then send out the release. What you get from NADMA will be what Met would have given to us in a contextualized form, and that is the information for Grenada. Any other way will be against the established norms. So I will ask the media entities to follow suit with the information that Met provides. That is Grenada's contextualized information.
Clive Austin, Chief Engineer at GRENLEC, had some advice for property owners whom he says need to ensure safety around their homes by trimming overhanging branches, some of which are close to power lines.
Once you're looking at trees over power lines, it's always best to call out so that we could look at it. Cutting trees, pruning trees over power lines, there's always a danger that the branches can fall on the lines, damage the lines, take off electricity, and basically create more problems for us and even the customer in terms of additional outage time. So it's always best to call us. If we think that it is safe for the customer to trim because it's within their property, okay, we will advise them accordingly. But definitely, if it's a case where our lines will be endangered, we will basically take on that responsibility and do the necessary cutting and trimming. In a lot of cases, we probably have to take out power in that area. We might have to drop the lines if we think it's necessary. But we will basically take on that task.
The Grenada Cooperative Nutmeg Association, GCNA, says marketing will be a key strategy to tackle low production and to obtain new markets. Chairman of the board, Leo Cato, says going forward, the association will engage the services of a marketing officer to promote the farmers, their produce, and the industry overall.
A marketing officer is something that we take very seriously because we realize that we have a number of produce. You can see some of them right there. A lot more are done in the shop. And we have not been marketing what we do extensively. So the thinking is to have somebody assigned as a marketing officer so that aggressive action and energy can be put into finding sales for what we produce. And as we pursue the U.S. market, marketing would be a key strategy going forward.
Chief Agricultural Officer Daniel Lewis says while marketing is high on the agenda, maintaining quality produce is equally important. He commended the association on the move to employ a quality assurance officer.
With the quality assurance officer on board now, I sincerely hope that a good regime would be put in place right across the value chain to look and see how we could improve the quality. We may not be, and Grenada has always been noted for selling quality nutmegs, we may not be a mega producer, but certainly our quality has to be right up there.
And that's the National Report. I'm Leslie Ann Johnson.
Alrighty, folks, so that takes care of last night's edition of the National Report with Leslie Ann Johnson there. Good job, Les. And I guess that takes us right now into our final segment this morning, where we hear from Mr. Ray Roberts. And by the way, Ray and I are both in blue this morning. Mine's a little bit darker than his is, but we're both in blue this morning. Let me take a quick little break here, and we'll come on back, and you'll get to see Mr. Roberts.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
A natural disaster can change your life in minutes. Preparation is the best protection for your family and business. Prepare now. Create a disaster plan and make sure everyone knows what to do. Store water, non-perishable food, and medication. Remember basic emergency supplies such as batteries and flashlights. Trim overhanging trees. If trees near power lines are unsafe to trim, call GRENADA at 237 for assistance or advice. Install surge protectors to safeguard your electrical devices against outages and intermittent surges. For more information, visit grenlac.com.
Grenelec, energizing our Grenada.
Mouth Open Story Jump Out comes to Brooklyn and Washington, D.C., featuring the humor and storytelling of Ricardo Kings Douglas.
They say she comes all the way up here to Toronto to shop for cosmetics and go back down.
Roll back the years in Brooklyn with Lord Nelson. Also in the Brooklyn concert, Quick USA. And in Washington, Diane and Friends. And Julian Moore, Washington, D.C., Saturday, June 8th. And Father's Day, Sunday, June 16th in Brooklyn at the Tropical Reflection Ballroom on 4501 Glenwood Road from 6 p.m. It's the perfect Father's Day treat. Tickets, $30 in advance. Available at Eventbrite and popular outlets. Or call 347-350-4285 in Brooklyn and 240-460-0442 in Washington, D.C., Maryland. Brooklyn. Special guest, the Mighty Sparrow, will be joined by cultural ambassadors and preservationists to be recognized with New York State proclamations. They include Lord Nelson, Derek Vento, Heron Rockin' J. Douglas, Gentle Benjamin, Lambert, and the Matadors, and the Quake USA Cultural Organization. Additionally, 2 lucky patrons will get to stay free at the award-winning Blue Horizons Garden Resort in Grenada for 3 nights, including breakfast and a dinner at La Belle Creole Restaurant, sponsored by Tropical Reflection Ballroom, Blue Horizon Gardens Resort, The Pelly Firm, Caribbean Times Newspaper, Dr. Derek Lezama, Century 21 Achievers Realty, Attorney Glenroy George, The Otley Law Firm, and Funk Media NYC. Washington, D.C., Saturday, June 8th. And Brooklyn, Father's Day. Mouth Open, Story Jump Out.
Yes, sirree. It's now 18 minutes before the hour. Time to say good morning. There he is, Mr. Roberts. Shades of blue this morning. How are you, my friend?
Morning, George. How are you? And to your viewers and listeners, certainly hope everyone is having a great morning.
Well, I certainly hope they are. Did you go to the beach this morning?
Yes. And believe it or not, I'm sweating. I played a lot of tennis last night. I went to the beach this morning. Maybe a little too much exercising. Believe it, my jersey is beginning to get a little too damp.
Boy, when I
But it's okay. I'm okay with that.
I can't believe it, Ray. You are so physically active, man. I keep saying when
Can't help it, George. Can't help it.
I want to be like you.
You meet the younger ones. I'm just looking at the French Open there, and the commentator said Michael Chang won the French Open 30 years ago.
That's right.
I saw that 2 days ago, and you're talking about 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So, George, that's a long time.
Yeah. You've been playing tennis a lot of years, haven't you?
I've been in this since I born. Grew up in all these things, George. There was nothing else in the swim. You couldn't swim. They would bring you on the reef and leave you there.
Yeah.
And you have to find your way back.
Yeah. It's a game I love dearly, but unfortunately my knees won't allow me to do it anymore, especially with my weight.
I'm pretty lucky. George, I've had absolutely no problem. Well, polio was a challenge when I was a little boy. George, I've had no problems with back, with hip, with nothing at all. The 1 and the half leg they have stood the test of time, and I wouldn't trade them for anything.
You are truly blessed, Ray Roberts. Truly blessed.
I hope so.
Yeah. So what's up your sleeve this morning, bro?
Well, George, it's all sport. Okay. I think I will start by saying West Indies, they have surprised us all, except Dr. Winthrop Wilshire. So I'm clear, Doc, you are not surprised. You left here for it, and you have delivered on it. Bowling out Pakistan for 105. To be truthful, I only started to look at the game when Pakistan lost the 8th wicket, because I felt we would have been overwhelmed badly. So I have to admit that I would seriously consider heeding to Doc's advice in the future. And then there was, unbelievable yesterday, Pakistan beating England. England just whipped them 4-0. And prior to the game, they were beaten in 7 consecutive games. So in 11 games, Pakistan, they were winless. Yesterday, they pulled off a beautiful win by 14 runs over the top seed and favorite, England. And if you want even more, Bangladesh beating South Africa. That too is another huge surprise.
So it looks like we're in for an upset this time around.
Well, it shows that improvement is certainly taking place at all levels because Bangladesh is not upsetting anybody. They are improving and their quality is on par with many of the others. It's just that the culture of us expecting Bangladesh to win, we have not yet reached that height. But George, I think it's a tournament that we all are enjoying. This morning it's raining, so there is no Afghanistan playing as yet, but that is a likely team. They play in Sri Lanka and they could upset the Sri Lankans. So we have seen a lot, but Thursday is when West Indies, they will come up against Australia. And I'm sure they are going to be doubters as me, and they're going to be optimists as Dr. Wilshire. So I will say no more, except that I would listen to Dr. Wilshire's advice.
So, so the next game is on Thursday.
Thursday, West Indies, Australia,
Man,
defending champ.
I just wish it was tomorrow so I could say, hey, Ray, let's join Sharon and Winty tomorrow. But on Thursday, we got Alan in here.
Right.
Yeah.
He's always a treat. He's always a treat. Alan is the greatest treat I ever meet.
What a character. What a character. Straight face Alan. Oh, man.
Yeah, undoubtedly. He's a poet. I call him the new Shakespeare in Grenada. He rhymes and he gives you lines that are so convincing.
Yeah. The man is very knowledgeable, and you know what I like? He does his research. He's not just, he says a lot of things that freak a lot of people out, but you can rest assured that when Alan talks, he's done his homework. He's not just somebody who goes to social media and yada, 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 you know? He does his homework.
Great. And George, it was a great sporting weekend. Let me just touch on a couple of other things. There's a fella called Anthony Joshua, an Englishman,
right,
who seems to be the next, not Muhammad Ali, but maybe a distance after Muhammad Ali. He was beating the best. And he was beaten by a man called Andy Ruiz from Mexico for the world heavyweight title. Ruiz said he was more familiar with gangs. And now he's the world champion and the first Mexican to win the world heavyweight title. And it didn't end there. We had Liverpool winning the Champions League, beating Tottenham Hotspur. I wanted Tottenham to win. And then Serena Williams still have to wait again, another Grand Slam to equal Margaret Court's 24 Grand Slam titles. Well, I just saw an English woman who certainly many of us didn't expect to get so far, Joanna Konta. She defeated Sloane Stephens, American who reached the finals last year, and looked pretty good. But Joanna just defeated her in straight sets and is into the semifinals. So she has become the first British woman since Joe Dewey to reach a semifinals since 1982. So, George, many things are happening in the world of sport. And this weekend, George, I hope we can see great crowds at the Queen's Park. It's Whitsuntide weekend. The Grenada Athletic Association is staging that annual event. It started way back, George, when we were boys. It has sort of declined in recent years, but the association this year, they have their best Grenadian athletes, including those in colleges in the United States and in the Caribbean. As many as 315, I am told, are going to be here for the weekend games. It is not going to be like the Grenada International where you had the superstars, but of course they were paid big bucks to perform. These are our local people, our Caribbean people, and I hope that Grenadians will make it a family weekend and come out in large numbers and look at our athletes. There's Joss Botang, who starts for Texas A&M University. He is rated, he's rated in the 40s in the world in the shot put. There is another sprinter called Kurt Modest, fast improving. Whole long list of talented athletes who are here. And many of them are aspiring to do, let's call it qualifying times for international events, World Championship, Olympics. And I trust that we will see it as an event unearthing Grenadian talent, rather than we're going to see the superstars from Europe and America running. I know we all love to see it, but this is what makes a Kirani James. When we show up and we urge them on, we certainly will find more world-class talent. And I believe we have them here.
And do you think Grenadians are going to go out and support the game? First of all, did they support the last Invitational as far as you're concerned?
Well, it was not as great as perhaps I thought it should have been because, you know, the organizers put out a lot of money, but certainly I think we needed a couple more, 3 or 4 more thousand people there. We needed a capacity stadium. 3,005, that's not enough. We need a capacity, 7,000, things like that. Remember that we have the coverage of ESPN, it's around the world. So I think, and it wasn't too expensive in my opinion, I think it was $20, maybe $25 for bleachers or whatever you want to call it. So I think we needed to see much more people. But I trust that the Whitsuntide Games, which is not exorbitant, I think the highest price is $20. I would hope people come out and look at the boys and girls because they're going to be, for the kids who are in, primary schools, the young people who are in secondary schools, tertiary institutions, and then there's the national team and there's a club championship. So there are actually 3 categories that you will get to see your 12-year boy, your 12-year girl, and have an assessment. So it's really an event, as I said, to encourage our own people to reach higher standards in track and field.
What is it going to take, Ray, to generate more of an interest in athletics on the part of Grenadians?
Well, George, a couple of days ago, I met a friend of mine, Gordon Copeland. We used to play tennis together, but Gordon does not play as much as before. And like me, we're getting older, and like you. And he was saying to me that as a former student of GBSS, in the last 5 years, he could say nothing about what's happening in sports. And it took me back to the years when we had sports as a priority on the radio. During the Revolution era, we covered domestic cricket live, we covered table tennis, lawn tennis live, and so forth. If you realize what we have on the radio now is every week there's a bingo in Queen's Park, there's a bucket and cooler. So people are not hearing as much as possible as they used to about sports. In fact, you're not familiar with the people in sports. You know, Vida Bruno, who's the secretary of the Olympic Committee, she told me, Ray, you know what was the joy for her? When we had the sports news, her parents felt good that they were hearing her name and the community felt good. And she felt committed to them in the sense that people were aware of who she was and what she was doing in sport. As you can hear now, there's basically, I mean, you turn into, I wouldn't call any name, but all the stations, except maybe the one in St. Patrick. It's history. 2 days after you get the results, there is no voice that authoritatively speaks on sports. There's the announcer who perhaps don't know sports. So he says things like, instead of saying 3 wickets for 5 runs, three for something that is not connected to the sport. So I think we have fallen apart in covering sports in Grenada. Yes, social media tells it, but the radio is what you in your car, and it stimulates your appetite. But who is this guy people are talking about? And inquiring minds want to know who it is. So I think the decline is all to do with a lack of coverage of sports, and people don't know, so people don't care.
Yeah.
But you know about the bingos, you know about everything else. One final thing, Aaron Moses was telling me that some stations now, they charge you for an interview like Whitsuntide Games, which is not money making. It's actually a deficit for the organizers. They have to find the money to pay. Say some stations telling you $500 for an interview. So
wait. What?
$500 to do an interview.
So wait a minute. If you wanted to come here and promote Whitsuntide Games, for example,
yeah,
I could grab $500 from you.
You can charge, yeah. That's all it is now. Not at all, but some of the stations and the big ones.
Wow.
Yeah. To get on the morning program or whatever program, you have to pay. Now, as I said, I know we may have IMF documentation, you know, and much of it to me is not very serious. But I know people are struggling. I know the media is struggling. But I think we have to see sports as a social good and something we all must contribute to, because juvenile delinquency will not be fought by counseling only. The greatest, to me, instrument to combat juvenile delinquency, it's sports.
Yeah. Wow. Boy, things have really changed. I need to get
That's correct. When they went told me that, I said, "Are you joking?" I said, "I never got a penny from all these years of interviews and covering sports." I said, "I don't get paid." He said, "Ray, the new market is $500."
All right. All right. I got to get caught up. I really have to catch up.
Believe it.
Yeah. All right, Ray. Anyhow, before we go, two things. One, I want you to remember to get that lady, Aisha.
Oh, Aishana. Yeah, she's back at school. She's back in the college now.
Okay.
At Kansas.
That's one. And two, we still have to hook up. I know that Winty's looking forward to us doing this little hookup, while he's up there watching the cricket. We still have to set that up. Tomorrow when Sharon comes on, I'm going to see if they've got a date set.
All right.
And by then...
Well, look for a deal that West Indies play somebody.
How many games in all of the Windies are going to be?
9. Each team has 9 games.
Okay.
So it's going until July the 15th or 16th.
Okay, so essentially one a week.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Roberts, sir. Go and cool off. I see a fan off to your right there. Go and cool off. And
Good.
Get ready for tomorrow's knock.
And I just did like you. I drank some hot tea. So that is even
coffee.
Right. Well, mine's in a different cup.
Yeah. You know, boy, let me tell you something. I had a little bit of a feast here on Sunday morning. While I was doing the program on Sunday morning, Ruggles likes to drop surprises on me. Now, Ruggles was scheduled to be in here at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning. And yes, he came at 11 o'clock, but I was very surprised. It must have been about 9:45 or 10 o'clock. Ruggles just walks into the studio here and he goes like this. So, what are you talking about? The man brought me some cocoa tea.
Yeah.
Cocoa tea and saltfish and blood pudding. Well, I'm not a blood pudding fan. And fish and pudding and, nice local breakfast, man.
To get you fat.
To get me fat, yeah. Well, he ain't doing too badly himself, He ain't doing too badly, let me tell you. So, the thing is, I was on the air at the time and not able to enjoy that stuff, but as soon as I got off, that was my lunch. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Take it easy, Ray. We'll see you soon.
On the back.
Okie doke.
Good.
Mr. Ray Roberts there with his usual Tuesday morning stint. Thank you so much, Ray, for joining us. Pilgrims, let me take another little break here. Come back, wrap it up after this.
My name is Jennifer James, and I've been making confectionaries for the past 7 years. Growing up as a little girl, I always wanted to make these little things. Fudge, sugar cake, tamarind ball, these little things. I read something actually, and it said that tamarind itself is very good because it eliminates fat from the liver. You get the mature tamarind and you crack it, you shell it out. I would add a little baking soda, some spices. I would leave it to rest probably for about 2 hours and then add my sugar and just start kneading. I usually knead it hard enough so that I can roll it. When I finish roll it, I will paste it with the actual white or brown sugar. And you have a nice tamarind ball. I have been providing food fair with tamarind ball about 6 years now. I started producing tamarind ball to sell for the school children. I thought I could advance somewhere. So I went to food fair and I asked one of the sales persons there if they would be interested in selling my tamarind ball. And she told me yes. She told me to bring 20 packets to start with. It was really a joy for me because I wanted to extend on my little business. My name is Jennifer James, and I work with the food fair to provide you with tamarind balls.
Alrighty, folks, as we pull the curtain down on the Tuesday edition of Good Day Grenada, let me say thanks a lot for joining us this morning. As always, our parting word today, it comes to you from the book of Philippians. Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 to 7. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians chapter 4, verses 4 to 7. And on that note, my dear friends, we're going to pull the curtain down. Thank you so much. Hey, by God's grace, let's hang out again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.